I am Nathan, 32 years old, and the founder of a successful tech startup in San Francisco. Growing up, I was always second best to my older brother Thomas in my parents' eyes. When he got a big promotion, they gave him a $15,000 Rolex. For my birthday, a card arriving 3 days late, saying, "Maybe next year you will make us proud." Their world shattered when I sent them a screenshot of my $1.2 million signing bonus without a word. Before I tell you how I finally showed my family what they missed out on, let me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe to catch more stories about turning pain into triumph. I grew up in a quiet tree-lined neighborhood in suburban Boston. Our house was nice, but nothing extravagant, a testament to my parents' middle-class values of hard work and sensible living. My father Richard worked as a bank manager, and my mother Margaret taught high school English. They were well respected in our community, known for their traditional views on success and achievement. My brother Thomas was 4 years older than me, and from my earliest memories, he was the golden child. He was athletic, charismatic, and excelled in the conventional ways that made sense to our parents. He played baseball and football brought home straight A's, and was popular with both teachers and classmates. I was different from the start, quieter, and more introspective, with an intense curiosity about how things worked. I remember a dinner when I was 11 and Thomas was 15. That evening crystallized our family dynamic in a way I would never forget. Thomas had just won the regional baseball championship, bringing home a gleaming trophy that my father proudly displayed on our mantel. "That is my boy Dad," said, clapping Thomas on the shoulder. "College scouts are already taking notice. This could be your ticket to a scholarship at a top university." My mother beamed at him. "We are so proud of you, honey. You are really making a name for yourself." I sat quietly pushing my food around my plate. Earlier that week, I had won first place in a statewide coding competition. My teacher had called it exceptional work for someone so young, and I had hoped my parents would be equally impressed. "Mom, Dad," I said during a pause in the conversation, "I got the results from that programming contest. I came in first place out of 300 students." My mother smiled politely. "That is nice, Nathan. Is that the computer thing you have been doing after school?" "Yes, I created a program that can predict traffic patterns. The judges said it was innovative." My father looked confused. "That sounds interesting. But you should really think about trying out for a sport next year. Colleges look for well-rounded students, not just kids who sit at computers all day." And just like that, the conversation swung back to Thomas and his athletic achievements. My trophy, a small acrylic piece that I had been so proud of, remained in my backpack, never making it to the mantel. Throughout elementary and middle school, this pattern continued. Thomas was the athletic star, the social butterfly, while I found my home in the computer lab. I developed an early fascination with technology and entrepreneurship, spending hours reading about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and other tech pioneers. By the time I reached high school, I had already taught myself several programming languages and was building small websites for local businesses. My parents viewed this as a strange hobby at best and a distraction from real schoolwork at worst. "Nathan, why do you not join a club or play a sport?" my mother would ask. "Colleges want to see that you are involved in school activities, not just these computer projects." Meanwhile, Thomas continued to excel. He became captain of the football team, was elected class president, and maintained his perfect GPA. Every achievement was celebrated, with family dinners, phone calls to relatives, and proud announcements at church. During my junior year of high school, I developed my first real business venture, a simple app that helped students organize their homework assignments. A few hundred students at our school started using it, and a local tech blog even wrote a small article about the 16-year-old developer. When I showed the article to my parents, my father glanced at it briefly. "That is great, son. But does this interfere with your college prep? Your SAT scores are going to determine your future, not these little projects." That summer, Thomas received a full-ride athletic scholarship to Princeton, one of the most prestigious universities in the country. Our house was filled with celebrations, congratulatory cards, and visits from extended family. My parents could not stop talking about their son, the Princeton athlete. When my turn for college came around, I had solid grades, but nothing spectacular in the traditional sense. What I did have were impressive coding skills and a portfolio of projects that caught the attention of several tech-focused colleges. I received scholarship offers from schools with strong computer science programs, including a nearly full ride to a respected tech institute in California. Instead of being proud, my parents were concerned. But Nathan, why not apply to Boston University or Northeastern? Those are respected schools, and you could stay closer to home, my mother argued. This tech school is not even in the top 50 national rankings, my father added, looking at the university brochures with disappointment. Thomas is at an Ivy League school. We always thought you would aim just as high. What they failed to understand was that for my career goals, this tech-focused school was actually the better choice. But in their eyes, I was settling for less, another way I was failing to measure up to my brother. Despite their objections, I chose the Tech Institute, determined to follow my own path, even as I carried the weight of their disappointment. Little did I know, this decision would be just the first of many that would widen the gap between us, eventually leading to a moment of reckoning none of us could have anticipated. As Thomas entered his senior year at Princeton, he had already secured an internship at Goldman Sachs, putting him on a fast track to a lucrative career in finance. My parents called everyone we knew to share the news, practically bursting with pride over Sunday dinners. Just think, my father would say, swirling his wine glass, "Our son will be working on Wall Street." Not many families from our neighborhood can say that. Meanwhile, halfway through my sophomore year, I made a decision that would forever alter my relationship with my family. Despite maintaining a 3.8 GPA, I had become increasingly frustrated with the pace of my education. The technology world moved too quickly for the academic curriculum to keep up, and I was learning more from my side projects than my classes. After much consideration, I decided to drop out and pursue my startup idea full-time. When I called my parents to tell them, the silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "You want to what?" my father finally asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "I am dropping out to work on my startup. I have a solid business plan, and I have already secured some initial funding from an angel investor who believes in my vision." "No son of mine is going to be a college dropout," he stated firmly. "This is a phase, Nathan. You are throwing away your future for some pipe dream." The conversation quickly escalated into a full-blown argument. My mother cried, claiming I was breaking her heart. My father moved from disappointment to anger. "If you go through with this," he said, "do not expect any financial support from us. We will not fund this irresponsible decision." "Fine," I replied, my voice shaking but resolved. "I will make it on my own." 2 weeks later, I packed everything I could fit into 2 suitcases and moved to San Francisco with exactly $200 in my bank account. I found a tiny apartment that I shared with 3 other aspiring entrepreneurs, took a job as a barista to pay the bills, and spent every other waking moment coding and building my business. Those first months were brutally difficult. I worked morning shifts at the coffee shop, came home to code, until 3 or 4 in the morning, grabbed a few hours of sleep, and then repeated the cycle. I survived on ramen noodles and free day-old pastries from the cafe. My hands were constantly stained with coffee, and my eyes burned from staring at a screen for 12+ hours each day. Meanwhile, Thomas graduated with honors and started his job at Goldman Sachs, complete with a 6-figure starting salary and a signing bonus that my parents could not stop mentioning. They sent me pictures of his graduation ceremony, the whole family beaming with pride, my absence conspicuously unmentioned. My first small success came about 8 months after moving to San Francisco. I developed a scheduling algorithm that caught the attention of a local tech incubator, earning me a spot in their program and a small stipend. I called my parents, eager to share some good news at last. "That sounds interesting," my mother said hesitantly. "But is it a real job? Do you have benefits? Retirement plans?" "It is a start, Mom. The tech industry works differently. This could lead to something much bigger." "Well," she sighed, "I suppose it is better than just making coffee." "Oh, did we tell you Thomas just got his own office at the firm? Corner office with a view of Manhattan? They are really recognizing his potential." Our monthly family calls followed this same pattern. 5 minutes about my life, followed by 25 minutes of updates about Thomas. His promotion, his new apartment, the important clients he was working with, the woman he was dating from a good family. After a year and a half of hard work, my first startup attempt failed. The market shifted. A competitor with more funding beat us to launch. And just like that, all those sleepless nights amounted to nothing. I was devastated, but determined to learn from the experience. I did not tell my family about the failure. I could not bear their inevitable "I told you so," or suggestions that it was time to go back to school. Instead, I took a contract programming job with a mid-sized tech company to rebuild my savings while planning my next venture. It was during this time that I met Gabriel, a 45-year-old tech veteran who had built and sold 3 successful companies. Unlike my family, he saw potential in my ideas and approach. We met for coffee after I impressed him during a coding meetup where I had presented a solution to a complex problem. "You have got something special," Kid Gabriel told me over espresso. "Your way of looking at security problems is unique. Have you considered focusing on that area for your next project?" Gabriel became the mentor I had always needed. He helped me refine my ideas for an AI-driven cybersecurity platform, introduced me to potential investors, and most importantly, believed in me when no one else did. "You do not need your family's approval to succeed," he told me. One evening after I had confided in him about my family situation, sometimes the people closest to us are the least equipped to understand our dreams. With Gabriel's guidance and my hard-earned experience from my first failure, I began building what would become Secure AI, a platform that used artificial intelligence to detect and neutralize cyber threats before they could cause damage. The distance between my family and me continued to grow. I missed Thomas's engagement party because I was working around the clock to prepare for an important investor pitch. My parents made sure to call and let me know how disappointed they were in my absence, how I was tearing the family apart with my selfish choices. "Family should come first," my mother insisted. "This business obsession is not healthy, Nathan." What they could not see was that I was building something that mattered, something that could change the way companies protected themselves in an increasingly dangerous digital landscape. More than that, I was proving to myself that I could succeed on my own terms even without their support. The next 3 years were a blur of coding sessions, investor meetings, small victories, and setbacks. Each time I reached a milestone, I would hesitantly share it with my family, hoping for recognition that never really came. Their responses were always variations of, "That is nice, but," followed by some news about Thomas that they considered more important or impressive. All the while, the gap between us widened into a chasm that I was no longer sure could ever be bridged. 4 years after I had left Boston, Thomas received a major promotion at his firm. At 34, he became the youngest vice president in his division's history. My parents immediately began planning an elaborate celebration at their home. "We are just so proud," my mother gushed during our monthly call. "Everyone at the firm says he is on the fast track to becoming a partner before he is 40. Can you believe it?" "That is great," I said, genuinely happy for my brother despite our complicated relationship. "Congratulations to him. You will come home for the celebration, right? We are having it 3 weekends from now. Everyone will be there, all the family. Even some of your cousins are flying in from Chicago." I looked at my calendar filled with critical meetings with potential investors. We were at a crucial stage with Secure AI, and the timing could not have been worse. "I am sorry, Mom. I have some really important meetings that weekend that I cannot reschedule. These investors are only in town for a few days." The disappointment in her voice was palpable. "Nathan, this is your brother's big moment. These computer meetings happen all the time. Family celebrations are special. These are not just computer meetings, Mom. This could determine whether my company survives another year." "Well," she sighed, "I suppose Thomas will understand. He is very busy too, but he always makes time for family." The celebration went on without me. That evening, my parents initiated a video call to include me in the festivities remotely. The camera panned around a room full of relatives, many of whom I had not seen in years, all gathered to celebrate Thomas's achievement. The climax of the evening came when my parents presented Thomas with his gift, a gleaming Rolex watch that must have cost at least $15,000. "We wanted to give you something special," my father said, his voice thick with emotion, as Thomas opened the box. "Something that shows how proud we are of all you have accomplished." The camera zoomed in on the watch, a Rolex Submariner with a blue face as Thomas put it on his wrist. "It is perfect," Thomas said, genuinely moved. "Thank you both so much." "You have earned it, son," my father replied. "You have truly made us proud." I smiled and offered my congratulations again, ignoring the sting I felt watching this lavish display of parental approval that had always eluded me. After the call ended, I threw myself back into work with renewed determination. My 32nd birthday came the following month. I was making progress with Secure AI, having secured enough funding to hire 2 additional developers and move into a small but proper office space. I was too busy to make plans to celebrate, figuring I would treat myself to a nice dinner over the weekend. 3 days after my actual birthday, a card arrived in the mail from my parents. Inside was a generic birthday message and a handwritten note that read, "Happy birthday, Nathan. Maybe next year you will make us proud. Love, Mom and Dad." I stared at those words for a long time, the pain slowly giving way to a cold resolve. After all this time, after all my hard work, they still could not see any value in the path I had chosen. In their eyes, I was still failing because I was not following the traditional path that Thomas had taken. That night I stayed at the office until dawn, fueled by a determination that bordered on obsession. If my family could not see my worth, I would create success they could not possibly ignore. I would build something so undeniably impressive that they would have to acknowledge it. Over the next 6 months, I poured everything I had into Secure AI. I refined our algorithms, expanded our capabilities, and began aggressive outreach to potential clients. Gabriel connected me with several of his industry contacts, and slowly we began to gain traction. Our breakthrough came when our system detected and neutralized a sophisticated attack on a mid-sized tech company before any damage could be done. The company's CTO was so impressed that he not only became a paying client, but also introduced us to several other potential customers. Word began to spread in the industry about the small startup with the impressive AI security solution. We added more clients, expanded our team, and continued to improve our product. Tech blogs started writing about us as an up-and-coming player in the cybersecurity space. Through it all, I shared none of these developments with my family. Our monthly calls became shorter and more superficial. I deflected questions about my business with vague responses, allowing them to continue believing I was still struggling with my hobby, as my father called it. Meanwhile, Thomas purchased a luxury condo in Manhattan and got engaged to the daughter of one of his firm's partners. Each of these events warranted special calls and family celebrations. "When are you going to settle down, Nathan?" my mother would ask. "Thomas and Rebecca are such a perfect match. Her family is wonderful, and they both have such impressive careers." What my family did not know was that major tech companies had begun to take notice of Secure AI. First came the informal inquiries, then the serious meetings, and finally the acquisition offers. 3 different companies expressed interest in buying Secure AI. The numbers they were throwing around made my head spin, amounts of money I had never imagined possessing. After careful consideration and lengthy discussions with Gabriel and my team, I decided to move forward with the most promising offer. The negotiations were intense and exhausting, stretching over several weeks. I barely slept, existing on coffee and adrenaline, as we hammered out the details. Finally, we reached an agreement that satisfied everyone involved. The day we signed the final paperwork was surreal. I sat in a sleek conference room surrounded by attorneys and executives, watching as my years of work culminated in this moment. When I saw the final figure on the contract, I almost could not believe it. Along with stock options in the acquiring company, there was a signing bonus of $1.2 million. $1.2 million. For the kid who had been told he was wasting his potential, for the son who had never quite measured up. After the meeting, my team celebrated with champagne and tearful hugs. Gabriel pulled me aside, gripping my shoulder firmly. "I knew you could do it, kid. You have earned every penny of this success. I hope you know that." That night alone in my apartment, I finally allowed myself to fully process what had happened. I had done it. Against all odds, without family support, I had built something valuable enough that a major tech company wanted to pay millions for it. As if on cue, my phone rang. It was the monthly family call, right on schedule. "Nathan, how are you?" my mother asked in her usual tone. "I am fine, Mom. How are you and Dad?" "Oh, we are wonderful. Thomas just put a deposit down on a vacation home in the Hamptons. Can you believe it? At his age, he is doing so well at the firm." "That is great," I said flatly. "And how is your computer thing going? Have you thought any more about finishing your degree?" In that moment, something inside me snapped. Not in anger, but in the calm certainty that I no longer needed their approval. Without saying a word, I ended the call, took a screenshot of the signing bonus section of my contract, and texted it to my parents, with no caption, no explanation. Then I turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and booked a first-class ticket to Tokyo. One of our new parent company's major clients was based there, and they had requested a meeting. It seemed like the perfect time to combine business with pleasure, to celebrate my success far away from the family that had never believed in me. The week leading up to the final acquisition deal had been the most intense of my life. 3 major tech companies had been competing to acquire secure AI, each seeing the potential in our advanced cybersecurity algorithms. The negotiations were grueling, with offers and counteroffers flying back and forth between teams of attorneys. "They want exclusivity. In the financial sector," my lawyer explained, during one late-night session, "that would limit our value significantly." "No deal," I responded firmly. "Our technology should be available to protect any industry. Security vulnerabilities do not discriminate by sector, and neither should our solution." Gabriel nodded approvingly from across the table. His guidance throughout this process had been invaluable, helping me navigate the complex world of tech acquisitions without getting overwhelmed or accepting a lesser deal than we deserved. The decision ultimately came down to 2 final offers. One company offered slightly more money, but wanted to absorb our team and potentially phase out our brand. The other, TechShield Inc., offered a comprehensive package that would keep our team intact, maintain the secure AI name as a subsidiary, and provide resources to expand our technology even further. "What do you think?" I asked my team gathered in our small office for the final decision. Maya, my lead developer, who had been with me almost from the beginning, spoke first. "The TechShield offer gives us the best chance to continue what we started. The money is still life-changing, and we get to keep building something that matters." After hours of discussion, we unanimously chose TechShield. Their final offer included a substantial equity package for the core team and the $1.2 million signing bonus for me as the founder. The day we signed the paperwork was surreal. I wore a suit I had purchased, specifically for the occasion, the first truly expensive piece of clothing I had ever owned. The TechShield headquarters occupied the top floors of a gleaming downtown San Francisco skyscraper with views of the bay that made our little office look like a closet in comparison. As the various executives and attorneys discussed final details, I found myself thinking about the journey that had led to this moment. From my parents' disapproval, to sleeping on a mattress, on the floor of a shared apartment, from working as a barista, to now sitting in this plush conference room, about to become a millionaire. "Mr. Brooks, if you could sign here," the attorney said, sliding the contract across the polished table. I took a deep breath and signed my name. Just like that, years of work culminated in a few strokes of a pen. Secure AI was now part of TechShield, and I was suddenly undeniably successful by any metric, even my parents' narrow definition. The TechShield CEO shook my hand firmly. "Welcome to the family, Nathan. We are excited about what we will build together." Those words, "welcome to the family," struck me with unexpected force. Here was recognition and acceptance from complete strangers that I had never received from my own family. After the meeting, my team gathered at an upscale restaurant for a celebration. Champagne flowed freely as we toasted our success and our future. "To Nathan," Maya said, raising her glass, "for believing in this vision when no one else did and for bringing us all along for the ride." Gabriel embraced me like a proud father. "I knew you had it in you, kid. This is just the beginning for you." Later that night, I returned to my apartment emotionally and physically exhausted. The reality of what had happened was still sinking in. I opened my laptop and looked at my bank account, which now showed a pending deposit of $1.2 million. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. The familiar family ringtone. Right on schedule for our monthly call, as if this day was just like any other. I answered mechanically. Hello? Nathan? How are you, my mother? Asked in her usual tone, no different than any other month. I am fine, Mom. How are you and Dad? Oh, we are wonderful, Thomas. Just put a deposit down on a vacation home in the Hamptons. Can you believe it? At his age, he is doing so well at the firm. I closed my eyes, letting the familiar pattern play out one last time. Even on this day, the most significant of my professional life, the conversation immediately turned to Thomas. That is great, I said flatly. And how is your computer thing going? Have you thought any more about finishing your degree? My computer thing. After all this time, she still could not be bothered to remember the name of my company or understand what we actually did. In that moment, I felt a strange calm wash over me. I was done seeking their approval. Done explaining. Done hoping they would someday understand. Without another word, I ended the call. I took a screenshot of the contract page, showing the $1.2 million signing bonus, made sure my name and the company names were clearly visible, and sent it to both my parents in a text message. No caption. No explanation. Just irrefutable evidence of my success in the path they had so consistently dismissed. Then I turned off my phone, completely set it aside, and opened my laptop. One of TechShield's major clients was a Japanese tech conglomerate based in Tokyo. They had requested an in-person meeting with the team behind the security platform they would be implementing. It seemed like the perfect opportunity. I booked a first-class ticket to Tokyo, departing the next morning, reserved a suite at one of the city's most exclusive hotels, and arranged for meetings with our Japanese clients. This would be both business and celebration, a chance to experience success on my own terms, far from the family that had never believed in me. Before going to bed, I turned my phone back on briefly to set an alarm. The screen lit up with notifications. 12 missed calls from my parents, 23 text messages, 3 voicemails. I ignored them all, set my alarm, and turned the phone off again. For the first time in years, I slept deeply and peacefully unburdened by the weight of seeking approval I would never receive. Tomorrow would be the first day of my new life, one where I defined success for myself. My phone nearly exploded with notifications when I turned it on the next morning. The number of missed calls, texts, and voicemails had multiplied overnight. I scrolled through them quickly as I prepared for my flight. The messages followed a predictable pattern of escalation. Nathan, what is this? Call us back immediately. My father, 8:30 p.m. Honey, we just want to talk. Please call us. My mother, 9:15 p.m. Is this real? $1.2 million. Call us back. My father, 10 p.m. Nathan Andrew Brooks, you answer your phone right now. We are worried sick. My mother, midnight. There were similar messages from Thomas, suddenly very interested in his little brother's life. Hey bro, Mom and Dad showed me the message. That is insane. Call me, we should celebrate. So proud of you. Proud. Now they were proud. Now that there was a dollar figure, they could understand a number that even in their traditional worldview qualified as impressive success. Not when I was building something innovative, not when I was pouring my heart and soul into creating technology that mattered. Only now, when there was money. Substantial money. Even more surprising were the messages from extended family members, aunts and uncles who had barely spoken to me in years. Nathan, your mother told me about your amazing news. We always knew you were going to do something special. I put my phone on airplane mode, finished packing, and called a car to take me to the airport. I had no intention of responding to any of them yet. Let them wonder. Let them wait. For years, I had been the afterthought in family conversations. The disappointing son who had chosen a path they could not understand. Now, they could experience what it felt like to be ignored. San Francisco International Airport was already bustling when I arrived. I made my way to the first-class check in something I had never experienced before. The attendant smiled warmly as she checked my passport. Mr. Brooks, we are delighted to have you flying with us today. Would you like to visit our lounge before your flight? It is just past security to your right. The first-class lounge was another new experience, a quiet oasis of comfort amid the airport chaos. I helped myself to a proper breakfast, sipped fresh coffee, and reviewed some documents for my meetings in Tokyo, all while steadfastly ignoring the occasional vibration of my phone. Boarding the flight was surreal. The flight attendant greeted me by name and showed me to my spacious first-class seat, which could recline fully into a bed. She offered me champagne before takeoff, which I accepted with a small smile, toasting silently to my new reality. First time in first class, she asked, kindly noticing my wide-eyed appreciation of the amenities. Yes, actually. I am celebrating a business success. Well, congratulations. We will make sure you enjoy every minute of your flight. As the plane took off carrying me over the Pacific toward Tokyo, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. There was something liberating about the physical distance I was putting between myself and my family, a tangible representation of the emotional space I needed. The 13-hour flight passed in unexpected comfort. I alternated between working, watching movies, enjoying the surprisingly good food, and sleeping in my fully reclined seat. It was a level of luxury I had never allowed myself before, always reinvesting every penny into my business. When we landed at Narita International Airport, I was refreshed and ready for this new adventure. A driver was waiting for me, holding a sign with my name and the TechShield logo. Another surreal moment, another reminder of how dramatically my life had changed. Tokyo was everything I had imagined, and more, a dazzling blend of ancient tradition and cutting-edge technology. My hotel, the Mandarin Oriental, offered breathtaking views of the city skyline and the kind of service I had only read about in magazines. The next morning, I met with our Japanese clients at their headquarters in a gleaming skyscraper in the Shibuya district. To my surprise, they treated me with tremendous respect, clearly impressed by the technology we had developed. Brooks San, the chief technology officer, said through an interpreter, "Your security solution is most impressive. We believe it will revolutionize how we protect our systems." After the meeting, they insisted on taking me out for a traditional Japanese meal. We sat on tatami mats in a private room of an exclusive restaurant, where course after course of exquisite food appeared before us. The CTO raised his sake cup to me. "To new partnerships and innovative solutions," he said in careful English. "To new beginnings," I replied, feeling truly appreciated for my work, perhaps for the first time. That evening I explored the city on my own, wandering through the neon-lit streets of Shinjuku, sampling street food, and taking in the vibrant energy of this incredible place. I found myself at a small restaurant perched on the 40th floor of a tower, offering panoramic views of the city. As I enjoyed a perfectly prepared Wagyu steak and a glass of Japanese whiskey, I decided to check my phone for the first time since landing. The barrage of messages had continued. "Nathan, we have been trying to reach you for days. Where are you, my father? Your father and I are very concerned. Please call us immediately. My mother." "Bro, seriously, call them. They are freaking out. Thomas." And then the most recent message sent just hours ago. "Nathan, we are planning a special family dinner this weekend to celebrate your success. Please come home. We want to make things right. My mother." I put the phone down without responding and looked out at the Tokyo skyline. The countless lights creating a galaxy of human ambition and achievement below me. They wanted me to come home for dinner, to slip back into the family dynamic on their terms now that I had proven myself worthy of their attention. But I was already having dinner. In Tokyo. On my own terms. I took a photo of my view and my meal and posted it to social media with a simple caption, "Celebrating in Tokyo. New beginnings." I knew they would see it, knew it would answer their questions, without giving them the satisfaction of a direct response. As I enjoyed the rest of my meal, I made a decision. I would extend my stay in Tokyo by another week. The meetings with our Japanese clients had gone well, but there were other potential clients in the region worth exploring. At least that was the business justification. The truth was, I was not ready to return to San Francisco and deal with the sudden interest my family was taking in my life. Here, thousands of miles away, I could enjoy my success without the weight of their expectations and judgments. Here, I could begin to imagine a future defined by my own choices rather than their approval. That night, from the luxury of my hotel suite, I sent a brief email to my team, explaining my extended stay and outlining the additional meetings I had arranged. Then I turned off my phone again and slept deeply lulled by the gentle hum of one of the world's greatest cities outside my window. After 2 incredible weeks in Asia, including impromptu side trips to Seoul and Singapore to meet with other potential clients, I finally returned to San Francisco. The experience had been transformative, giving me space to process my success and begin envisioning my future on my own terms. As the car dropped me off at my apartment building, I felt a renewed sense of confidence and clarity. Whatever awaited me, including the inevitable confrontation with my family, I was ready to face it with the strength of someone who no longer needed external validation. What I was not prepared for was finding my parents sitting in the lobby of my building. My mother spotted me, first jumping to her feet. "Nathan." They looked exhausted and out of place, my father's normally impeccable appearance. Rumpled my mother's eyes, red-rimmed from what appeared to be days of worry and little sleep. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?" I asked, genuinely shocked. "What are we doing here?" my father repeated incredulously. "We have been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. You sent that message and then disappeared. We thought something might have happened to you." "I was in Tokyo. On business," I replied calmly. "Let us go up to my apartment. We should not have this conversation in the lobby." Once inside my apartment, my mother immediately pulled me into a tight hug, something she had not done in years. "We were so worried," she whispered. I gently extricated myself from her embrace. "You could have just called TechShield. They knew exactly where I was." "TechShield?" my father asked. "The company that acquired mine. The source of that signing bonus I showed you." I set down my bags and turned to face them directly. "But that is not why you are here, is it? You are not here because you were worried. You are here because you finally realized I am successful, and now you want to be part of it." My mother looked genuinely hurt. "Nathan, that is not fair. We have always cared about you." "Have you?" I asked quietly. "Do you even know what my company does? What we built? Have you ever shown any real interest in my work before you saw that dollar figure?" My father ran a hand through his graying hair. "Look, son, maybe we did not always understand your interests, but we always wanted what was best for you." "No," I countered. "You wanted what you thought was best for me. You wanted me to follow Thomas's path because it was familiar to you, because it fit your definition of success. When I chose differently, you made me feel like a failure." "That is not true," my mother protested weakly. I walked to my desk and picked up the birthday card they had sent, which I had kept as a reminder. "Maybe next year you will make us proud," I read aloud. That was just a few months ago. And now, suddenly, you are here ready to celebrate my success. My father looked uncomfortable. We may have been overly critical at times. At times I laughed without humor. My entire life I have been compared to Thomas. His trophies got displayed while mine stayed in my backpack. His career choices were celebrated while mine were dismissed. He got a $15,000 watch for his promotion. I got this card for my birthday. My mother began to cry softly. "We did not realize how much we were hurting you." Clearly. My phone rang, interrupting the tense conversation. It was Thomas. On a whim, I answered and put it on speaker. "Nathan, thank God. Are Mom and Dad with you? They flew out there 3 days ago and have been calling me constantly with updates." "They are here," I confirmed. "Good." He sighed with relief. "Look, bro, I need to say something. I am sorry." That caught me off guard. For what? For all of it. For never standing up for you when they compared us. For accepting all the praise and attention without ever acknowledging how unfair it was to you. For not seeing how brilliant you were because I was too busy enjoying being the favorite. The room fell silent. This was unexpected, especially from Thomas, who had always seemed completely comfortable with his golden child status. "I have been miserable, Nathan." He continued, surprising me further. "All this success, all these achievements Mom and Dad celebrate, they came at a cost. I have been living the life they wanted for me, not the one I wanted for myself." My father looked stricken. "Thomas, what are you saying?" "I am saying I hate banking, Dad. I have always hated it. I took that path because it was what you expected, what would make you proud. But watching Nathan have the courage to follow his own path, even when you both disapproved, made me realize what a coward I have been." My mother sat down heavily on my couch. "I do not understand. You have always seemed so happy with your career." Thomas laughed bitterly through the speaker. That is what you wanted to see, so that is what I showed you. Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to live up to your expectations? To know that your love seems conditional on my achievements? The three of us sat in stunned silence, absorbing Thomas's words. Finally, my father spoke, his voice uncharacteristically small. We never meant to make either of you feel that way. We thought we were pushing you both toward success, toward security. But at what cost? I asked quietly. At the cost of our relationship? At the cost of our happiness? My mother wiped her eyes. We were wrong, Nathan. Seeing that message you sent that number, it was a shock. But what really hurt was realizing that you did not even want to tell us, that you felt you could not share your success with us because we had been so dismissive of your path. For the first time, I saw genuine regret in their eyes, not just embarrassment at having misjudged my potential for financial success. I needed to prove to myself that I could do it without your approval, I admitted, because I had spent so many years trying to earn it and failing. My father stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. I failed you as a father, he said quietly. Both of you. I was so convinced I knew what success looked like that I could not see you were creating your own definition. He turned back to face me. I am truly sorry, Nathan. I am too, my mother added. When we got that message, it was like a slap in the face. Not because of the money, but because it made us realize how little we knew about your life, how little effort we had made to understand what you were building. Thomas spoke up again from the phone. So, where do we go from here? Because I do not think any of us want to continue the way things have been. It was a good question. Could we rebuild what had been broken? Did I even want to try? I do not know, I answered honestly. I am not sure I can just forget years of feeling second best. We are not asking you to forget, my father said. We are asking for a chance to do better, to really listen and understand your life now. I considered his words carefully. I cannot promise anything, but I am willing to try on one condition. Anything, my mother said quickly. No more comparisons. No more measuring either of us against your preconceived notions of success. Thomas and I are different people with different paths. My father nodded solemnly. You have my word. Thomas spoke up again. And I am coming out to visit next month. I want to see what you have built, Nathan. Really understand it this time. After they left, promising to keep in touch, but giving me the space I needed, I stood in my apartment, feeling strangely lighter. Nothing had been magically fixed, but for the first time, there seemed to be a possibility of building a healthier relationship with my family, one based on mutual respect rather than impossible expectations. It would take time and effort from all of us. There would be setbacks and old patterns to break. But perhaps just as I had built a successful company from nothing, we could rebuild our family connections from the ground up stronger and more authentic than before. 6 months passed in a blur of activity. After the acquisition, I stayed on with TechShield as Chief Innovation Officer, leading a greatly expanded team working on next-generation security solutions. The work was challenging and fulfilling, allowing me to focus on the creative aspects of development while leveraging the resources of a larger company. My financial situation had transformed completely. Beyond the signing bonus, the equity package had proven even more valuable as TechShield's stock rose, following the successful integration of our security platform. I moved into a beautiful apartment with views of the bay, but otherwise kept my lifestyle relatively modest, investing most of my newfound wealth rather than spending it. More important than the material changes, however, was the internal shift I had experienced. No longer seeking validation from my family, I found a new confidence in my decisions and a clearer vision for my future. Success on my own terms had proven more satisfying than I could have imagined. True to his word, Thomas visited San Francisco the month after our confrontation. To my surprise, he came alone and stayed for a full week. On his second day, he asked for a tour of my office at TechShield. "This is incredible," he said, genuinely impressed as I showed him our development lab. I had no idea security technology was so complex. "Most people do not," I replied. "That is part of the problem we are trying to solve." Over dinner that night, Thomas confessed something I never expected to hear. "I am leaving Goldman." What? When? I gave notice last week. He smiled, looking more relaxed than I had seen him in years. I am going to take some time off, figure out what I actually want to do, not what Mom and Dad want. How did they take it? I asked, genuinely curious. Better than I expected, actually. I think your success following your own path opened their eyes a bit. Dad even said he wished he had been brave enough to take more risks when he was younger. This was the first of many conversations with Thomas that began to heal our fractured relationship. Without our parents' comparisons driving us apart, we discovered we actually had things in common, including a shared dry sense of humor and a love of obscure science fiction. My relationship with my parents evolved more slowly, with occasional setbacks when old patterns emerged. But there was genuine effort on both sides. They began asking specific questions about my work, actually listening to the answers and acknowledging when something was beyond their technical understanding instead of dismissing it. 3 months after our confrontation, I used part of my newfound wealth to establish the Brooks Innovation Scholarship, a program funding technology education for underprivileged students with an interest in cybersecurity. The first cohort included 10 brilliant young people who would never have had access to proper training otherwise. These kids remind me of myself, I told Gabriel when he attended the scholarship launch event. Full of ideas but lacking resources and support. Now you get to be the mentor you wished you had, he replied, clapping me on the shoulder proudly. Gabriel had become something of a father figure to me, providing the unconditional support and guidance I had always craved. He joined the board of the Scholarship Foundation, bringing his extensive industry connections to help create internship opportunities for our students. When my parents heard about the scholarship, they made a surprising request to contribute to the funding. At first, I was skeptical of their motives, but they seemed genuinely moved by the program's mission. We want to support something that matters to you, my mother explained, and maybe make up for some of our past mistakes by helping other young people pursue their dreams without the kind of pressure we put on you. I accepted their contribution, seeing it as a meaningful step in our healing process. Thomas, meanwhile, had discovered a passion for sustainable architecture after taking time to explore different fields. He enrolled in a master's program and seemed genuinely happy for the first time in years. When he called to tell me about a design competition he had won, I felt true pride in his accomplishment without any of the old resentment. You know, he said during one of our now regular video calls, I would never have found the courage to change direction if you had not shown me it was possible. Watching you succeed your way made me realize I was living someone else's version of my life. 6 months to the day after our confrontation in my apartment, my parents suggested a family dinner when I was next in Boston. I agreed somewhat apprehensively. When I arrived at their house, I was surprised to find they had invited Gabriel as well, having connected with him through the Scholarship Foundation. The dinner was unlike any family gathering I could remember. My father asked thoughtful questions about my current projects. My mother had prepared a slideshow of photos from the scholarship launch to show relatives who could not attend. Thomas shared his latest architectural designs, receiving genuine interest from our parents without the pressure of expectations. After dinner, my father pulled me aside. On the mantel where Thomas's trophies had once dominated, I noticed something new, a framed article from a major tech publication about secure AI and the acquisition alongside a photo of me with my team. I should have done this years ago, my father said quietly. Celebrated your achievements the way I celebrated your brothers. I was wrong, and I am sorry. Thank you, I replied simply. The words could not erase the past, but they mattered nonetheless. Later that evening, as Gabriel and I shared a drink on my parents' back porch, he offered a perspective that helped me make sense of my journey. Success is not about proving others wrong, he said thoughtfully. It is about proving yourself right. You did not build secure AI to show your family they had underestimated you. You built it because you believed in your vision and your abilities. His words resonated deeply. My most satisfying achievements had never been about external validation, but about creating something meaningful, something that reflected my values and vision. The following week, I met with a young entrepreneur who had reached out seeking advice. As he described his struggling startup and his family's lack of support, I recognized my younger self in his determination and frustration. My parents think I am wasting my potential, he confessed. They keep pushing me to get a real job at an established company. Let me tell you something. It took me years to learn, I replied. The path to success is rarely a straight line, and it almost never looks like what others expect. The most important validation has to come from within. As I shared my experiences and offered guidance, I realized I had come full circle. From seeking approval I could never seem to earn to finding success on my own terms, to now helping others navigate similar challenges, I had found a purpose greater than proving my worth to my family. True success, I had learned, was not measured in dollars or recognition, though those things were nice. It was measured in the impact you made, the authenticity with which you lived, and the freedom to define your own path regardless of others' expectations. That night, I called my parents, just to check in. Not because it was scheduled or expected, but because I wanted to. As we talked easily about everyday matters, I felt gratitude for the new relationship we were building, one based on mutual respect, rather than conditions and comparisons. The journey had been painful at times, but necessary. Sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the most profound healing, and the hardest paths lead to the most meaningful destinations. Have you ever had to forge your own path despite others doubting your choices? What helped you stay true to yourself when faced with pressure to conform to others' expectations? Let me know in the comments below, and do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if my story resonated with you. Remember, the most important validation comes from within, not from proving others wrong. Thank you for listening, and I hope my journey inspires you to follow your own authentic path to success.